Hello, hello. It is the time of the night for the Good Sex Talk Show. As usual, I come on a couple of minutes early to give everyone a chance to join. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time until we get started. Hello, all of my replay viewers. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a replay viewer joining right now, at this point in the live, go ahead and drop your name and where you're from so I can tell you hello later on. And then for all of you watching me live, do the same thing. Tell me your name, the state where you're from. If you are a regular on the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for supporting and joining and being a part of this awesome conversation that is the Good Sex Talk Show with your girl, Coach Yema. All right. So we have a very interesting topic tonight. I'm excited to share that with you guys. Okay. And as usual, hello, hey Sharita. As usual, I am on my laptop here and we'll be pulling up different things and stats as we talk. So it is... I'm going to pull up the article I shared. If you're not following on my public page where this live video is happening right now, please make sure that you do that so you get notifications about the topics we'll be discussing, because I do share all of the articles so we can have the conversation. Also, please like, comment, and share. I am going to try again to go ahead and do that. Unless somebody can do it for me where you can put please like, comment, and share and pin it. But I don't know why I've been struggling with pinning it. I looked it up today and it was you tap and you hold it. There should be a menu that comes up, but it's not coming up for me when I do it. I don't know what's going on. I'm pretty sure that it's user error. All right. It is 10 o'clock. Once again, welcome to the Good Sex Talk Show with Coach Yema. I am here to close the gap for you between your spirituality and your sexuality, to show you that it is actually the same. It's two sides of the very same coin. And today we are going to be talking about comprehensive sex education in public schools. Here are the rules of engagement. Please make sure if you want to join me and you want to join me live and comment, let's talk it out together. There is a green button for my live viewers on the bottom of the screen. I believe maybe it's somewhere here or it's here, because I think this camera's like switched around. Hello everyone. If you want to join me and have a comment about what we're talking about today, make sure you hit that green button. I'll bring you on live with me and you'll be like in the corner and you can share what you have to share and talk about. Please do not be shy. It is a talk show. My intention is that we talk together and have a conversation. Obviously, I am a coach and a teacher, so I do have some comments and little lessons here and there as we go through the conversation as well. I am also, for those of you joining me for the first time, the author of the book, same title as the show, called Good Sex. And if you have not picked your copy up yet, please make sure you do that. It is a single woman's guide to sexual wholeness. Most of my story that I talk about here with my sexual journey and all of that is in here, and how I got to a place of healing and to a place of celebration in my sexuality. It has been a beautiful journey with the Lord, and I am very excited about that. All right, so let's get into the topic. First of all, how is everybody doing? How are you guys doing? Put it in the comments. Let me know. I want to try to get you guys to engage more and talk to me more so we can have that. So how are you doing today? I know for me, this is what's been happening, right? So I do the show at 10 o'clock and I technically get up not around this time, but I get up and get ready and all these different things. And so because my schedule has been a little later, I'm not able to fall asleep till 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm getting tired. So I'm possibly thinking about maybe moving the show up maybe a couple of hours, maybe to 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and then that would be 10 o'clock on the East Coast. What do you guys think about that? Do you think we should move the show up maybe 2 hours earlier? Because I know I'm getting super tired. I just recently went full-time into my business, and so I'm used to the daytime work hours. I used to get to work around 10 a.m. and leave around 4. So those are the hours I'm used to. And so it's been about a week and a half and my body is adjusting to this later show hour. Hi, Audrey. Thank you for joining. So like my body's still adjusting, so I'm so glad that you guys are joining me. And then for the people who watch the replay, I'm also wanting you to comment like, what time are you watching the replay? When is a good time for you? Hey, VIP, what time is a good time for you to join the show? Is it too late? Should we do it a little earlier? Let me know. I'm open to all suggestions. Okay. So you guys let me know what you think about that. I like the later time because I did it so that we could have an honest conversation and be transparent and not be super worried about, oh, somebody's listening to me or someone's listening to Yema. Thank you, VIP girl. I'm taking tips from you. Aqua Clark, if you guys do not know her, she has literally like the best outfits, like African outfits. She kills it every time. I need to like put my order in and be like, hey, go ahead. And I call her VIP because she dresses like a VIP everywhere she goes, and I love it. I need to get me some little African things. I was gonna wear today, like have this closed up and have like an African tie like thing on, but I was like, it's gonna be too hot, and I have these lights on me, and so I get really hot underneath here. Also, someone mentioned that I should get some tissue with me because I apparently play with my nose too much. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. So I got something here with me, and I got some water because as you're talking, like your mouth gets kind of dry and all that other stuff. So that's our show. That's your girl, Coach Yema. So today's topic is about the comprehensive sex education curriculum that's being rolled out nationwide. I know it definitely is happening in Colorado. The article I shared today is happening in California. I know when the conversation started maybe like 2-3 months ago in Colorado, but this bill had been in place since 2013. And the conservative Christian community was extremely upset about it, mainly because in Colorado, they were now asking charter schools who are normally able to set up their own curriculum to include this, or else some of their government funding, the federal funding, would be taken away if they were not going to be providing comprehensive sex education for their students. And so the definition of the comprehensive sex education curriculum is, number one, the thing that's really triggering a lot of people is that the government and states are asking that people, the schools, stop teaching abstinence-only sex education. What do you think about that? So abstinence only, like not teaching abstinence only sex education, to include everything. And also the second trigger point for a lot of people is that is being asked to be taught from K to 12th grade. And a lot of the people who are against it are concerned because apparently, now there's only like bits and pieces of this curriculum that I've seen, but apparently there are actual physical like acts being depicted in the books, in the curriculum of different sex acts like oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex, and all the different types of sexual activity, starting even at like 5th grade, which would be around the age of 10. So a lot of people are really upset about it, especially the conservative Christian community is very upset that the government is forcing schools to teach this comprehensive sex education. So number one, they're being asked to not teach abstinence only. So if you do not know what abstinence means, is not having sex until you're married. Or, I mean, as far as Christians are concerned, but abstinence could just be like, I'm not having sex. Celibacy could be, I'm not having sex till marriage. So abstinence is if you've never had sex before and you're a virgin, you're going to be abstinent until you get married. And then celibacy is like, I've had sex before, I'm going to start making a new decision. I'm not going to have sex until I am married. So the government is saying, don't teach that anymore. And I've done the research, obviously. I say that all the time, right? I have done the research. I was looking into this the couple of months ago when the state of Colorado started really having this conversation. And when I do research and I was looking at this, I didn't only read the commentary from the Christian community. I went and actually read the bill that was being passed. Hey, Stephanie, thank you for joining. She's one of our younger girls, so she's still in high school. I think you're going into... What are you going to be a senior soon? So school's starting in August for everybody. It seems kind of early to me because I remember being in school and school wasn't starting until September. It's like, did they even get a chance to have a summer vacation? I don't understand that. It seems a little early to me. So in Colorado, the bill also included teaching, and this comprehensive sex education is also wanting to include gender identity, right, and sexual orientation and the fluidity of sexuality. And so what they're wanting from the side who is for the comprehensive sex education, they're saying that it's going to reduce bullying. Like, if education is power, right, and education is exposure. So if we can expose younger children to the idea that it is normal, and here's where the problem comes in and the point of contention comes in, right? If we can teach the kids that it's normal to be gay, that it's normal to be transgendered, that it's normal to be bisexual, to have a fluid orientation, that not everybody is going to like the opposite sex. Also, if we can teach that sex isn't necessarily only for marriage, and if you're going to do it, because their thinking is, with the amount of sexual transmitted infections that are happening and the amount of pregnancy that's happening among kids under the age of 18, that what they've been teaching, abstinence only, isn't working. What do you guys think about that? Go ahead, put it in the comments. VIP, what do you think? Stephanie, you're in high school. Let me know what you're thinking. Audrey, you was in high school a while ago, child. But go ahead. And Sharita, you're still on. Tell me what you guys think about that. Do you think that the abstinence only education that we received, I know for me, I was not allowed by my father to go into those classes, the sex education classes. I only got like the phys ed courses where they taught you about your period, the different parts of your body, puberty, what was happening, talking to the young men about like wet dreams and all these different things. And so I kind of like heard a little bit of it. But yeah, now, girl, go ahead and tell the truth. Go ahead and tell the truth. Don't hide. Be proud of who you are. I mean, because there's a difference, right? There's a generational difference. Like, back in the day when you were in high school, what was the sex education like for you? Like, they obviously were teaching abstinence only. Like, did that work for people? For me, even though I was not part of the sex education classes in high school, I know I was kind of made fun of, which wasn't cool, because, hey, Jeanette Bridemaid, thank you for joining. I know for me, like, people made fun, the kids in school, in high school and middle school, made fun of me because I wasn't allowed to go into those classes. So that wasn't nice. Kids were kind of mean. But I still heard about what they talked about and taught in the classes, because the kids will leave the classes and be like joking around and laughing, and like, oh, they said this and they said that, and oh my goodness, and like making fun of it. Like, they didn't really have a grid for what they were teaching anyway. So I don't know if it helped, because obviously, I mean, something has to be wrong. Let's just say it. Something has to be wrong if we were, thank you, Jeanette. So we were taught for a very long time, and the tide is, starting to change now. We were taught for a very long time, abstinence only, abstinence only. Hey, Lillian, thank you for joining. We were taught abstinence only. So if we were being taught that for a long time, and we still have, America has the highest rates in the industrial world of teenage pregnancy. Thank you. The highest rate of teenage pregnancy in the Western world. And we've been having this education for a really long time. What is it that's not working? We at least have to ask the question, right? Like, why isn't it working? Or is it working? Like, what's going on with it? And so if it's been taught and it's not working, and now that people are trying to change it because they're thinking, well, if we've been teaching it and telling the kids to hold on and they're not holding on, maybe we should start helping them, teach them how to be safe while they're doing it. I mean, back in the day, like, they taught about condoms and things like that and contraceptives and all that. I know for me, hey, Holly girl, thank you for joining tonight. Audrey says it's important to know the facts all around. What facts are you talking about? And also, as a reminder, if you would like to join me live and like have a conversation back and forth, please let me know and hit the green button and join me so that we can have the conversation. What facts all around? I know for me, in high school, I remember there was a kid in our neighborhood, and we must have been in like maybe like 8th grade. No, it would have been 7th grade because I was in boarding school in the 8th grade. So like 7th grade or maybe like 9th, 10th grade. And he was a young white man, and his mom gave him condoms, and it was like a big thing in our neighborhood. Like, oh my gosh, his mom is so cool. His mom gave him a condom. She doesn't care if he's having sex, right? It was like a big thing because it wasn't happening then. I think now it's more normalized that, you know, parents are giving their kids condoms to protect them. But back then, and this wasn't long ago, I graduated from high school in 2005. So this was like early 2000s. So not that long ago, 20 years ago. So it was a big deal 20 years ago that somebody's parent gave them condoms so that they could be safe having sex. So now the school's saying, well, I think kind of the layer of what they're saying is the parents aren't doing a good job. I think it's kind of like a slap in the face. Like, since y'all don't know how to handle your kids, we'll take care of it. Like, we will teach them how to protect themselves around all of this. And so, like, the parents are upset about it, and I understand why they're upset about it, because they don't want specifically kids that are younger, right? Because they want to start this comprehensive sex education and teach sexuality as a part of human development starting in kindergarten. I, as a sex coach and educator, from my standpoint of what I define sexuality to be, don't see a problem with that. What do you guys think? I just said it. What do you guys think? Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Go ahead, put your name and where you're from in the comments so I can welcome you and say hi. I want to know who's watching so I can engage with you all. So I don't think I don't believe personally starting in kindergarten to teach about sexuality. Because, like we talked about last week, when we think about, hey, Shalise, thank you so much for joining. Shalise, you have children. You tell me what you think about this comprehensive sex education curriculum that they want to roll out starting in kindergarten. I personally think it's a problem with it. I think what we are missing is that, or what the fear is that they're going to be teaching kids in kindergarten how to have sex. And that's not what sexuality as part of human development is. Later in like 5th grade at the age of 10, if you're concerned that your kids are learning sex acts, I get that. But if it's pure sexuality as a part of human development, I don't see a problem with that. I don't know specifically. And now we're speaking from all of us not having seen specifically the actual curriculum that's being rolled out. But that's the first thing, right? Is it a problem that they want to start from kindergarten to 12th grade? I've already shared my opinion. What are your opinions? Say it again, what you just said. I'm not sure. I just said a lot. Okay. Or my opinion. Okay. So I'm assuming you're saying my opinion because Facebook does have a slight delay because you guys, like I'm talking, you guys are typing. So it's sending it to me late. So I'm assuming, Audrey, that you're asking what my opinion is. So they want to start including sexuality as a part of human development, starting with kindergarten and moving up into 12th grade. As my definition of what sexuality is, and I shared that with you guys last week, the difference between genital sexuality and social sexuality. If you're teaching how to relate to other people as part of sexual development, I get that. Lilium says, We live in a world now where we need to teach our kids, but not in kindergarten. No way, at least from 7th grade, teach them. Okay, so Lillian does not agree. Definitely not in kindergarten. Why not in kindergarten? Is too young. They don't get it. They're still learning how to spell their name. Exactly, I want to know, and I'm going to go find the actual, see if I can get my hands on it, the actual curriculum that they're thinking about rolling out. And this K to 12 thing specifically is happening in that article I share with you guys today in California. So 7th grade, what are you, like 12, 13, 12 in 7th grade? I think that's an appropriate age. You're coming into teenage years, puberty starting to happen. And for kids, puberty is starting a lot earlier for this generation that we're in right now. So I think it starts around 12. Some kids, girls, even start at early as 10, going through puberty. So I can see when that education will start being shared, because they're very young to know those things. Okay, so Lillian's thinking kindergarten's too young. Those things, I'm thinking, Lillian, you're probably saying like those things as far as sex acts, right? Like oral sex, anal sex, vaginal sex, mutual masturbation. Those acts, I definitely agree with you if that what you're saying those things are. I definitely agree that it's possibly too early. But here's the thing about mutual masturbation. I understand, not appropriate to be sharing at the kindergarten. But if you are not aware, masturbation starts as early as in the womb for children. Like, I know you've seen babies like humping couches and like rubbing on themselves. They don't have any context of what we know sex to be. They're just finding something that feels good. They're just pursuing their pleasure, right? So it feels good, so I'm gonna do it. They're not thinking, oh, I'm having sex, right? And so masturbation is part of like development and seeking pleasure and learning your body and all those different things. Kids start experiencing that way before they even get to school age, but that's a conversation that's a little bit a part of what we're talking about today. Audrey says kids aren't dumb. They're very observant. But I think the parents need to take this responsibility of education. I think you meant educating their children. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Here's the issue that happens with we want the parents to take responsibility. I obviously am totally for that, because the coaching program that I've developed is for moms of teenage girls to take control of their daughter's sex education, their sexuality development, and lead them through that process through their teenage years. So I obviously am in full agreement with that. I think where the government is coming from is that the parents are not doing it, and they're giving it over for the kids to learn it themselves, or they're kind of taking kind of a hands-off approach, because many parents are uncomfortable. My clients that I deal with, they are uncomfortable having this conversation with their children. And so I think the government is saying, and then for public schools too, right? So it's not a private school. They're not going through any of that. Let's see. So Lillian says the kids these days are very smart and observant, but parents shouldn't rush to start teaching them at age 6. It's not necessary. Now, Lillian, I think you're a mother. I'm not sure. So she's coming from a place of mother too. I'm not sure how old your kids are. Let me know how old your kids are. So this is where she's coming from is absolutely valid. And so for someone like Lillian, who may have kids who are who are school age, and being asked, right, to include comprehensive sex education into their general education, is she allowed to opt out? Certain schools are saying, certain states and different districts and cities are saying that the parents they're not allowed to opt out of all of it, which is where the problem comes in, right? Because once you start taking away the of almost 7-year, okay, so your kids are, and you're in Colorado, so this is happening for you. I'm not sure if you're aware of it. Like, it's happening right now. I don't know if the school has sent you any documentation on what's about to get rolled out for the kids in Colorado, but it's real. But when we start to take away the option from parents on what their kids are allowed to learn, like we are not giving them the option to say no to it, that for me is a problem, for sure. Because in California, the one that's coming out, what they're calling this extreme, what they call it here in this article, the extreme new sex ed curriculum, the kids are allowed to be opted out by their parents only for certain parts of the curriculum. They're not allowed to opt the kids out of gender identity, sexual orientation, and the fluidity of sexuality. I get why they're doing it. I get why they're doing it because the effect that we've been seeing in society, like just today, I was scrolling, I believe it was either on Facebook or Instagram, one of my friends or followers shared with me how one of their friends' sons killed himself because he was starting to identify as a gay man, young man, and he was being bullied to the point where he committed suicide. The young boy was around the age of 9 or 10. And so I get why the schools are wanting to force this education, because if I'm going to educate you in school and make it normal for you, then you won't be bullying your classmates to the point of where they're in this desperate place where they end up committing suicide. I don't remember hearing about kids' suicide when I was growing up, like in high school. I don't remember ever having this conversation of like, oh, this person, like maybe when I was in a more Caucasian school in Aston, PA, there may have been like a suicide. I can't remember, and I said Caucasian because I went to like so many different schools growing up. I went to boarding school that was like, I was the only black girl in there. I was in a school in New Jersey where everybody was in there. And then my senior year ended up where I think there was like mostly probably 85 to 90% white kids and a very few percentage of a mixed group of children. And then I was in the top 10% of the school. I'm not bragging, but they put us in a different class. And it was only 10 of us that had this very specific curriculum to go through, this advanced curriculum. And I was the only black girl in there. So that's why I mentioned that school, just to give you some context. But I don't remember ever hearing this. And nowadays, I see it more and more often. I think it was even like last year, a young girl like posted on Facebook or Instagram where she hung herself in the front yard. She wasn't more than 12 or 13. And so I think the school, the government and the school districts and states are starting to see that it is actually like an emergency that's happening. And the only way to fix it is to educate so that it can go away, right? And so if we think about the race thing, right? And so when we blacks and whites weren't allowed to go to school together because all the stuff, this history of black people not being actual humans, they had to educate people out of that system, right? And so I think it's a similar thought process that's going on. Like, we need to educate so that kids stop bullying each other to the point where children are committing suicide. So if we're not, what is the answer if we are not teaching gender identity and gender and sexual orientation and all of those, and sexual fluidity? What is the answer to us if we don't teach it? Like, what's the response? What should we be doing, right? Number one, if your mom watching this, hire me, okay? And I can coach you through how to take ownership of your child's sexual education. Let's see. Audrey says she recently had an experience of her young nieces and nephew asking questions about sex and gender of their babysitter. Has a girl's name, is a girl, but identifies as a boy and dresses masculine. I didn't feel it was my place to explain to them since I'm not the parent. So it is happening. I know your nieces and nephew, are they like around the age of like 3, 4, or 5? And they have a babysitter who is a transgendered man, or is considering himself, though they were born, their sex is female and their gender is male. So the difference between sex and gender, they're going to be teaching those things. And those conversations are part of the popular conversation now anyway. It's part of pop culture. There's so many people that are, we have, what's her name? Is it Caitlyn Jenner? So we knew Bruce. We watched the Kardashians. Now Bruce is Caitlyn. And so the conversation is happening right in front of us. And if the parents in the homes are ignoring it, and kids are, and maybe they're not even ignoring it, but they're in the home saying like, oh, they don't know who they are, and saying very mean things about the people who are coming out as transgender or who are gay or all these different things. Like this rapper Lil Nas, he sang that cowboy song. Is it a cowboy song? Because there was like a big thing around it, right? He's a black rapper who like crossed over to country music and everybody got upset about it. Like he can't sing country music because he's black, all this other stuff, whatever. I forget the song now, but it's a very catchy song. And during Pride Month, which was in June, he came out as a gay man. And so now everyone's like making fun of him. Oh, he was talking about writing. What was he writing? And so the conversation is happening, and guarantee your kids at that age, even 4 or 5, are listening to this song and they're dancing with it, although they may not have the context to ask the question of, oh, well, how come he's saying he like boys? It's still a part of their conversation. 6, 7 years old. Back in the day, we watched TV when we were allowed to watch TV, and that is the only access we had to the outside world. I can't believe I'm saying that. I sound so old, like back in the day. I'm only 34. But technology happened so fast. Back in my day, we watched TV, and it was only the Disney Channel I was allowed to watch. And I remember, what show was it? I think I was watching Clueless. At the very end of the show, she's kissing the guy, right? And my dad rolls by the couch, like through the family room, and he's like, what are you guys watching? Turn it off right now. Because they were kissing. That's the level my dad was on in my home. So I never watched any of that stuff. The only thing I used to sneak and watch, I'm pretty sure my dad would not have approved of, was the Xena, the Warrior Princess. Who remembers Xena? She was so, for years, I loved it, but he probably wouldn't have allowed me to watch it because she had that skimpy clothes on, like the bra and the little skirt, and she was fighting people and killing people in that outfit. So I definitely would not have been allowed to watch that. But my point in saying that is we had very little exposure to all those things. Now the kids have right in front of them their iPad. A lot of parents, I see it often, a lot of times, they turn the iPad on and they give it to their kids, and their kids are occupied and they go and do their thing. And so, not a critique, just an observation, the iPads are raising the kids in a way because they're on YouTube. They know how to find, like, oh, it's so cute. They know how to find their own shows. You don't know what the commercials are that are going on. Like what happened with, I think, was it like 3 or 4 or 5 months ago when that scary person would like pop up on the kids show and was like telling them to go kill themselves? Do you guys remember that? Wonder Woman was hit back. See, now I told you trying to say that you didn't go to high school a long time ago. Now you talking about Wonder Woman. I don't ever remember watching anything about Wonder Woman. So girl, you got some years on us. But that exposure that the kids have these days is happening no matter if their parents are watching it or not, right? If they're being careful of whether the kids have access. And so it's happening. And then you have kids also who are in homes that have 2 moms or 2 dads, and they're friends with people who have, 1 mom and 1 dad, and the conversation is happening. So what are parents doing? Like, what is the answer? If you don't want the school teaching your kids about it, which I half agree with, what's the answer? Other than hire me so I can help you if you're a mom of a teenage girl, right? I have a signature program for you that we can walk you through this to take ownership of that. But if you are a mother or a father that have kids that are going to be part of, because it's getting rolled out nationwide, and you can opt out to decline, but you have to read it very carefully because in some states you're not allowed to opt out of the entire thing. Okay? When you read the bills, I wouldn't suggest reading the conservative Christian. Read it if you want to get a full view of it, but when I read it, the articles that they were talking about this comprehensive sex education, it was like, they're going to be teaching our kids how to be gay, and they're going to be teaching them how to have gay sex and like all this other stuff. And it was like so focused on the acts that they're going to be teaching, and not so much about orientation and gender identity and all these different things. And so it was very one-sided for me. If you're going to write an article or speak about something like I'm doing today, be balanced in your approach. Like, I get it that you are like conservative and you don't want these things happening, but what has been your education in your home about sexuality, and what have you been telling your kids about people who are identifying as transgender or as gay, or whatever on the spectrum of wherever they could be between hetero and homosexual, right? Audrey says it is important to address their questions when they come to you and not make the kids feel bad when they come to you. Absolutely. So a big thing that I know a lot of most parents, I know from my parents growing up, a big thing that hinders the conversation from happening is that parents carry their own shame about sexuality, and they shame their kids about sexuality as well. And it starts very early. Like I mentioned earlier in the program tonight, how masturbation happens, or we can call it self-pleasing. VIP says, yes, we from Africa back then, our parents were very hard on us. Yeah, they were. So self-pleasing, instead of calling it masturbation, I'm going to call it self-pleasing, because masturbation has a lot of weird, like things that come to mind when people think about it. So self-pleasing happens very early with children, right? And so when they're younger, you're changing your baby's diaper, they're touching themselves, and a lot of parents will go ahead and slap the kid's hand away. And that initially, it starts to build in your mind to be somehow shamed about your body, and there's some parts of you that you as yourself are not allowed to explore. And so you start this dissociation that starts to happen at that very young age, between you as a person and your body, that you don't own your body. And so the shame starts very early, and the parents, through their conversation, through the way they respond to their children's nakedness and different things like that, start to subconsciously communicate shame to their children. And they carry that. And so if I have shame about my body, and I go into a school atmosphere on the playground or wherever I'm happening, if I'm carrying shame, I'm going to communicate that shame either in anger or in fear or in teasing or in bullying. Because I've had experiences, and I'm not necessarily blaming parents for kids who bully. It's partly your fault. I'm sorry to say it. If your kids are out there bullying people, get it together. But you carry all the shame from home, it turns into anger, fear, bullying in the playground and at school, right? And so if I see a gay kid that doesn't look like anybody that I've been exposed to or my parents has told me about, even if my parents accept everybody. And I think before the conversation was accept everybody no matter what color they are, right? If they're black, white, orange, yellow, whatever it is, accept them, they're people too. And we were very proud, oh my gosh, I'm able to tell my kids to accept everybody because everybody's the same. We all bleed red, right? Now the conversation has to shift into accept everybody, whether they're gay, straight, whether they were born a boy but think they're a girl, or vice versa. Go ahead and accept them, because again, we all bleed red. But as a Christian who has very strong beliefs about that, it's difficult for them to have the conversation of accept everybody, and this is what the Bible says, and this is what our beliefs are. So if I'm telling a kid, we don't believe that being transgender, being gay is normal, but accept them, that's a little confusing to me. It'll be confusing for me, right? It's not normal, but accept them. I don't know what that means. How do I do that? And so I'm going to go to school and I may make fun of them because they're gay, and then tell them, well, my mom and dad said you're not normal. So the education system, which in America I am extremely against for a lot of reasons, but the education system now is saying, since you guys are not doing a good job, we'll take it from here, right? Since you're taking your beliefs, which you're allowed to have, but you're not teaching it very balanced, we're going to take it from here, and you are not going to be able to opt out from these things. And they're forcing the schools to accept it, because if you don't teach it, your funding goes away. And you can't have everything that you need to have to make sure that you have a beautiful environment for kids to learn in. So it's kind of they're strong arming them into this, to have this conversation. I think it goes into where the conservative Christian community starts saying, well, this is the gay agenda, right? They're going to start now forcing kids to believe that they're normal, and we know that they're not normal, and they're hitting us where it hurts, which is our children, and starting to have them grow up to believe that this is okay for you to be this way. Also, another thing that goes along with all of this is if a fear that I know is happening a lot is parents are believing if they teach kids about these different sexualities and orientations, then kids are more likely to become that. Or it would confuse them on who they are. That's a hard one for me. Excuse me. That's a hard one for me because I don't know that if I am teaching a straight person about being gay, that they will all of a sudden start being gay. I don't know about that. I get the fear. I get the fact that there may be confusion, but I think that we take for granted the acceptance of a child's heart. Like, we want to have all of the explanation, and we want to know what the theology of it behind it is. Is it natural? Is it not natural? But these are the kids who believe that, like, they talk to invisible people. They believe that they can fly. They believe that anything is possible. And so if you tell them, that person's gay. What does gay mean? Oh, they like people who are men like them or who are women like them. Oh, okay. And they keep it moving. So I don't know where that fear specifically is coming from. And if you guys are watching this and you know where that fear is coming from, let me know. Even my replay viewers, please go ahead and talk to me. I am not in any way espousing that I know all of the answers to all of these things, even though I am a sexuality coach. I am saying these are questions and conversations that we need to have so you can identify where you are in the conversation, because whether you want to be a part of it or not, if you have children, you have to be a part of it. You have no other choice. And so either educate yourself and find out where you are now in this process of where this curriculum is being rolled out, or you can put a blind eye and pretend like it's not happening, and then your kids end up in a situation where they're going to come to you after the fact. So it's better as parents that you be proactive about this. And you tell your kids, part of the bill that's getting rolled out in California is that they are demanding that kids go home and ask their parents about sex and sexuality. And so whether you want to or not, it's going to be part of the kids' homework to come to you. Praise the Lord. That's like business for me. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, my California mamas, call me up, girl. Let's get this conversation going. And if you definitely want to call me, the link is in the description here, and I will link it in when I'm done in the comments to go ahead and book a free call with me so we can decide next steps and build a plan for you so that you're ready for next month when this starts rolling out and your kids start asking you, Mama, what is sex? Or Daddy, what does it mean if somebody was born a man and now they think they're a girl? And also, what's going to be very shocking for some parents is that the kids have already been exposed and they've already accepted it, and it's not a big deal for them. And they're like, oh, okay. But they're going to be asking you about sex. I know for me, since I didn't get the sex education, I would read like those trashy novels. I know I'm not the only one. I know I am not the only one. Okay, so don't leave me out here by myself. Those romance novels that had the girl all like out like this and her boobs are hanging out and the hair and she's sweating, the guy's kissing her. And my dad would be like, oh, she loves to read. She's such a good reader. Because I'll be staying up like really late at night. My dad's like, do you want to turn the light off now and go to bed? I'm like, no, Daddy, I haven't finished it. Like, oh no, Daddy, I haven't finished it. My dad be like, she's such a good reader. She reads all the time. Because I was like eating that stuff up because he wouldn't let me go to the class. And then I went over one summer. I remember it so clearly. I went over to my sister's house and she had like these female books like all the way up in her attic. And she had gone to work and I was home by myself, and I went up there, and it was all like the anatomy of a woman, because I had never looked down there. It wasn't something that I was allowed to do. Like, you washed it and you cleaned it, and that was as much relationship, which is a problem, which is really why I'm so passionate about female sexuality. The fact that I didn't start exploring my vagina and getting to know my anatomy till like very, very late, even after like sexual activity that I had participated in, until like very late into my 20s. Didn't start to really explore and understand that. But around the age of like 16, 17, this book was up in the attic of my older sister's house, and it was all about the female anatomy. And I went up there and I like completely like ate everything up, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what is this? And I wasn't bold enough at that time to take a mirror down there and look at it myself and be like, oh, this is where this is and this is where that is. It was just like so fascinating for me. And then to be like, oh, this is, you know, what a penis looks like, and all these different things. Like, I ate it all up because nobody really took the time when I was growing up to really walk me through it. Even when I got my period, it wasn't like, oh, this is what happens now, and this is like what goes on. Again, my older sister, I spent a lot of time with her. She is 20 something years older than me. So I spent a lot of time with her. She's like a mother figure to me. So all she said to me was, don't let a boy touch you or else you'll get pregnant. So that was my education on my period. My education from female and male anatomy came from me sneaking up into the attic and looking at all of the different pictures and trying to read and understand. And then my education about relationships came from the Disney Channel that I watched and from the trashy novels that I used to read. And so you can just imagine how obviously I'm passionate about this right now, because I was all jacked up, right? Thank you, Jesus. We have found truth. And so if your kids now in this day and age are you're being asked to put your children through this very extensive view and understanding of the breadth of sexuality and sexual behavior and sexual orientation and human development, is that a bad thing or a good thing? And if it's a bad thing, what is your answer to it? Do you have a plan on how to educate your children about sexuality beyond the talk about the birds and the bees? It's not one conversation. It can never just be one conversation. It is a bunch, and I talked about this yesterday. It has to be a bunch of mini conversations as they grow and as they develop, as you walk them through and guide them through their sexuality, because puberty is happening, hormones are there, they're finding themselves attracted to whoever they're going to be attracted to, navigating through their identity and their self-expression and how other people are receiving them, and, you know, doing this battle between, do I want to change so other people like me, or do I want to stay the same and be myself? Like, what's my identity? So they're going through all of these different changes. They need you as their mom, especially as girls, they need you as their mom to be able to say, as a woman, this is who you are. This is your body. This is what's good about your body. There's nothing bad about your body. This is how you express yourself. This is what this means when you start to feel a certain way. This is what being turned on, or you feeling hot or whatever. This is what that means. And like, connect the dots for them, because if you're going to have the government connect the dots for them, they're not going to do it with your belief system. They don't have to, and they're just not, because they have to appeal to the masses, right? They're just not. And so whatever your belief systems are around sexuality and human development and relationships and orientation and attraction and gender identity and all of that stuff, right, wrong, or indifferent, it really should be coming from you. If you think that is a good thing, don't just have the conversation stay at school. When they bring their work home, have that be something that triggers a conversation with you, not of you teaching them and talking at them and saying, this is what this is saying, but asking them. You're sending them to school, they're learning, honor the fact that they have their own thoughts, and have that conversation with them from the material that's being brought home. Okay, and so that was just a quick coaching for my moms out there, and for the aunts and uncles like myself who have nieces and nephews, Audrey specifically. If you are finding it difficult or a little dicey to have a conversation with your nieces and nephews, a simple thing, again, it's very easy. It's just to ask them questions. Well, what do you think about that? Okay. And like, we talk to kids and babies all the time. They're not talking back to us, right? They're Googling, Googling. We're having a full-on conversation. So when they're able to have a conversation and talk and actually make words, ask them what they're thinking, right? And don't have an opinion. And tell them, like, let mommy and daddy, did you talk to mommy and daddy about it, right? And then, of course, tell the parents, like, this is the conversation that your child brought up with me. It may be beneficial for you to sit down with them and give them preliminary. Or if they need materials, because a lot of parents are unsure about where to start, or what do you say, what exactly is age appropriate, like what is okay to talk about at 3 versus 13 versus 18. Okay. Audrey says, how about the schools first provide education to the parents, bring them into the conversation first, make them aware of the curriculum, and equip them with tools to be able to answer those questions the kids will have. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think the struggle that they're having now is that the parents are the conservative community are so against it that they don't even want to have that conversation. So I think that's part of the struggle. Like, they can't bring them in and teach them because they don't even want to talk about it. And I know oftentimes when we think about like kids in schools and homes and parents, we have the tendency to think about like the perfect nuclear family that has mom, dad, brother, sister, and the dog, right? But families don't look like that anymore, right? That's not the majority of how families look. And we have the single parents who may be working multiple jobs and are struggling on how to get through to their children, and they're more in the reactive mode and putting out fires with their children and doing all these different things, and don't have the time, good, right, wrong, whatever it is, whatever your opinion is, that they don't have the time. That's not my concern, but they don't have the time to actually sit down and engage their children and engage their children's education. So there's a lot going on. I think the state has been, in a way, being asked to parent children, right? When their parents really should be the one doing that. Like, what do you do with the society? And if you look back to the origins of even this whole education system and how we learn, it wasn't built to develop your children into good people or like good adults, right? The education system, the history of that was so that we could have more employees. And so they're educating them to the very basic level on how to get a good job. They're not developing your children in the area that you would find important, right? Like, how many of us had financial education back in school? I remember having one class about financial literacy where I learned how to sign the back of a check. That's the only thing I remember, and I still take it with me to this day. I don't even use checks anymore, so it was beneficial for a couple of years. But they're not really raising your children to be... They didn't raise us to be owners of things. Now, in different school systems, it's very different. I did experience both. Like, I went to school in Georgia for about a year in 4th grade when I first came to the States. And back in that grade, we were being taught how to buy stocks. It was an affluent neighborhood in Georgia. And so we were being taught so many different things that when I got to Jersey, like, the kids didn't even know what part of the newspaper the stock market stuff was. Like, they had no idea. So obviously in different areas also the education is slightly different. But in general, the education system was built to create more employees, not to create owners, not to create secure whole adults. It's built to make sure that you're able to do have basic intelligence to be able to work a job, right? And so understanding all of the stuff that goes into that as well, and why public schools exist and all of these different things, it's very important that you know that. And so when they start rolling these things out, you have full understanding of why it's happening. Right? And so, of course, I'm going to want to educate your children on gender identity and sexual orientation, because when they get into the workforce, they're going to be people like that, and they need to be able to get along with people who are different. Right? Other than the bullying, we're playing the long game right now. So the long game is that so you can get into the workforce and understand that it's okay that people are different from you. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if you don't understand all of those things, your response will be very one-sided, and not like a full balanced understanding of what's really going on. If it's bothering you, I know a lot of people, I don't know what's happening. If you're a homeschooling mom, let me know if this curriculum is being asked, because I know the kids still have to take standardized tests in order for them to like graduate through homeschooling. Is this curriculum also being asked of homeschool moms to teach? I don't know. I'm going to pose that question in my private group to the moms that I have who have teenage daughters who may possibly be homeschooling them. So is that happening as well? Like, is this all around, or is it just for public schools? I don't know. So I think we're getting close to the end of the program right now. Thank you guys so much for watching me. And once again, let's see here, give me 1 second. If you have not purchased the book, Good Sex as a Single Woman, and you're struggling through, maybe you had the sex education that I had that was very self-led through the romance novels and the anatomy books and all those different things, and you really want to get to a place where you fully understand God's best for you sexually and why he gave us sex and what his purpose is and how he wants you to look at it and how he wants you to celebrate who you are, how he wants you to walk in front of that mirror naked girl and be like, thank you, Jesus, okay? You did good. You did very good, okay? A lot of people can't do that. You'd be very surprised at women who cannot walk in front of the mirror. And if you're a mom and you're not even in love with yourself like that, you're communicating that to your daughter. So be careful. So even if you know what, if you're a mom, single woman, if you have kids, if you don't have kids, this book is perfect for you to get the full understanding of what God's will was for us with our sexuality and what his plan was. We will be back again tomorrow at the same time. I asked you guys earlier in the show if you think that we should move the show up a couple of hours. I probably will put a poll up, and you guys make sure you get back on the page and vote for me. Also, topics that you want to discuss. I started discussing one of the topics today that somebody asked me to talk about, which was masturbation or self-pleasure, self-pleasing behaviors with kids who are not school-age kids yet. And then someone shared with me today, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, that Willow Smith was on the Red Table Talk with her mom talking about polyamorous relationships, where it is more than two people in a relationship and they're all mutually committed to each other. Nobody's like stepping outside, but it's like a man and two women and they all love each other. Obviously, one of those people needs to be bisexual for that to work. You can have a throuple, a quadruple, and like it keeps going on and on. And so someone sent me that article today and was wondering, where is our society today that we're considering relationships like that? I have personal experience with the polyamory community, so that's a topic that we'll be talking about. So if you have any other topics that you would like for us to talk about, let me know. Send me a direct message, a DM on the personal page, or if you're friends with me, send me a message or text it to me, and then I'll do the research on it and we'll come together and have a balanced, beautiful, sweet, delectable conversation. It'll be so yummy. So thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh, and please make sure you like, comment, and share.